Which Necromancer build is the strongest? Who is going to dominate Season 3? The Companion is definitely going to give us a boost and make some of the builds even more viable than before. But what should you focus on? Keep in mind one very important thing up front. If you do the Blood route, you'll always be able to swap between Blood Surge and Lance. Very easy. The same goes for Bone route, where you can swap between Spear and Spirit. And lastly for Shadow, that would be Infinimist or Gigadot. Both are quite interchangeable, plus the new builds we will discover. Now, the absolute bottom tier right now, the thing that needs to be forgotten, is still the Pure Summoner. I'm sorry to tell you this, heavy-hearted, but they didn't buff minions at all. They made the Golem a little bit more useful, which will help during leveling, but then you'll still put it in the trash bin, because end of the day, the Golem gives you 30% multiplicative bonus critical strike damage. And no matter what they do to him, unless they turn him into a Supernova Ultra Bomb, he will just simply not be worth it ever. The Pure Summoner hovering in a solid D tier gets followed up by the C tier build. I would put Bloodlands there. Bloodlands is incredibly strong and can be tier 100 dungeons, Uber Lilith, Duriel, everything. It's quite decent, but at the same time, it has a certain clunkiness to it when it comes down to the Blood Orb production still. Now, we did get a new unique item. That is the Mutilator Blade. This one Bloodlances you, and Bloodlance deals damage every 3 seconds to every lanced opponent. And then if it would deal damage, you get bonus Fortify, and you have a 5% chance to form a Blood Orb. Also, Bloodlance deals 20% multiplicative increased damage. The thing is, the problem with Bloodlands was never the damage. It does do incredible damage. It is fantastic. It's more about this continuous being able to keep casting. And even if you go for the Blood Orb consumption and you go for Exposed Flesh for the bonus resource generation, it still has an inherent clunkiness to it that Blood Surge simply does not have. Now, here comes the kicker. If the Seneschal Companion turns out to be so amazing resource generation wise with the resource support tuning stone, then could actually move Bloodlands up to a solid B, if not even A tier, since it is quite fantastic. For the B tier, Corpse Explosion did get nerfed. That is a lower lucky hit chance, which tremendously impacts the Gigadot, Xfeld's Corroded Signet Explosion build, and also Infinimist Necromancer. The thing is, we have to think about right now what will be good also for the Gauntlet, for speedrunning, for getting top 10 in the leaderboards. And for that, the shadow builds have one problem. They take time to kill. They don't kill straight away. And in the leaderboard dungeons, you'll have to pick up the proofs of might that the monsters drop. So if I'm now running around and do shadow damage over time and monsters drop behind me, and then I keep running and they actually drop somewhere behind me, and then I have to run back to actually pick up the proofs of might, that's gonna waste time. So just from a thought process of damage over time being a little bit scuffed this season, because you want to kill something, pick up the proofs of might and keep zooming, or pull everything together, boom, exploded, loot, keep zooming. And that's where the damage over time builds are still strong, right? They're going to be tackling any challenge, but it might be that due to the damage over time, they're just going to be a little bit sad for the leaderboard. Now, I'll be trying all the builds, don't worry, in the leaderboard in the end and reevaluate this tier list. But right now, I would say it's more a solid B tier in terms of what the other builds can do, especially since the shadow builds do not profit that much from what the companion can offer, because the companion can restore your resource, give you like a cool amount of critical strike chance, boost your strength in general, and that's where the other builds that have a problem profit way more from than what Infinimist would profit from, which would bring us into the A tier, potentially solid S tier. And that's the Bone Spirit Necro. Bone Spirit get a tremendous buff. It used to be, well, let's be honest, it used to be F tier. Now with the new aspects, that would be Swelling Curse and Shattered Spirit. For Swelling Curse, you get 25% bonus crit chance. And with that 25% bonus, I can make Bone Spirit be 100% crit chance, which always gives a cooldown reduction. And then when you hit enemies, your maximum essence is increased by 2 for each enemy hit. That means if I hit 10 enemies, I get 20 essence bonus, and Bone Spirit does 4% more damage per point of essence up and cast. 20 essence bonus is another 80% damage bonus if I cast with these 20 essence. I think we're going to be truly able to just absolutely nuke bosses with 2 Bone Spirits, just boom, and just do gazillions of damage. But that's not the best one. There's the Shattered Spirit aspect. Casting Bone Spirit also launches 18 bone splinters in all directions, dealing 400% increased damage and generating 6 essence per hit. That's not all of it, because if you put this on your amulet, it's 600% damage. And here comes an interesting interaction. There are these Pain Gorger gauntlets, damaging enemies with a cast non-basic skill, like Corpse Tendrils, Corpse Explosion, and Bone Spirit, marks them for 3 seconds. And when a basic skill first hits a marked enemy, basic skill, we're Bone Splinters from the aspect, the basic skill's damage is echoed to all marked enemies, dealing 200% increased damage. So if the Bone Splinters deal 600% increased damage, and then the Pain Gorger's Gauntlet, technically, because Bone Splinters is a basic skill, should increase that by another 200%. Yeah, if that works together, Bone Spirit is just going to soar into awesomeness. By the way, all these builds have a link in the description below to the tier list with Mobalytics links, videos, everything included for you. Now, what is solid S tier? What is going to be the super kicker? And here we're talking about Bone Spear and Blood Surge. I'm going to say Blood Surge, but Overpower get nerfed by 1%. That is something, yes. The thing about Blood Surge is it already used to one button more or less every single minion in tier 100 dungeons anyways. If we're talking about Abattoir of Zir now, with the tier 15 and beyond, yes, the Blood Surge nerf would have been significant, but for the actual content that we have right now and the challenge that it opposes, plus what the gauntlet is going to be, Blood Surge walks in and boom, deletes everything. Now you could say Blood Surge has a problem with bosses, but that is where the companion comes in, because the companion makes us first and foremost stronger with a flash of adrenaline. Then we're getting the bonus ranks to all skills with the unique glyph, and we're going to be having also resource being generated, which is the biggest pain for Blood Surge, that we're lacking some resource. But now with the bonus of resource generation, that shouldn't be a problem anymore, and we technically end up being a calamity that can't be stopped. So it was already strong, and now with the help of the companion, it should even be stronger despite the nerf. And the Pain Gorger's Gauntlet technically be played in Blood Surge as well, as we're using Hemorrhage every now and then to get some bonus fortify or restore a little bit of essence, and then the Hemorrhage that can also overpower and deal quite some good damage would be able to get the 200% increased bonus damage and echo out to everyone else. I think the Pain Gorger's Gauntlet shall not be underestimated, because they might actually turn out to be quite decent. And then lastly to mention the Bone Spear. We're talking about the Undying Bone Emperor version, which is going to be using Lidless Wall to be undying, have permanent bury up, and throw those bone spears out for maximum damage. Now, there is a thought of, could there be a Bone Spear Spirit mix build? There is a chance, especially if we're not needing to use Blood Mist in the Gauntlet, because Blood Mist is going to be mandatory for vaults. But in the Gauntlet, if we could build a build that is so overpowering damage-wise that it shoots out one Bone Spear to do so much, like to delete half of the HP away from a boss, and then 2 Bone Spears and you're done, we could get to a point where Bone Spear build is insane. But all in all, already, Bone Spear itself is just going to be incredible, as it has been before, as it will always be, because nothing gets changed about it. And now the Bone Spear, that's also having sometimes resource issues, gets the companion for bonus resource permanently, bonus vulnerable permanently, flash of adrenaline. So a build that has already been doing millions of damage has the chance to just get a goddamn damage buff from your bot, +4 in all ranks, plus the Harlot, +8 in all ranks. Your Bone Spear can have like +30 ranks to then do it's going to be brilliant. What is it you're going to play? What's your Necro for this season? Don't worry, there will be many experiments, and if you have anything you desperately like to see, drop it in the comments below. I'll write it on the list. There's the Season 3 document out with all the information, fireside chat, uber unique tier list, Season 2 Necromancer tier list, which will be updated by this Season 3 Necromancer tier list, governing stone, tuning stones, general information, evergreen information, everything you're looking for. And if you're looking how Vault and Arcane Tremors work, or your level guide for this season, bring it on.